Right, welcome to this complete army video. My Adeptus Mechanicus army is ready for war. It's 2,000 points. It's fully updated for chapter approved 2018 for Warhammer 40,000 8th edition. So very excited. Done some upgrades on some units, expanded some units, added some new models in, brought some new models, or some of the older models back into the list as well. So it's the happiest I've ever been with my AdMech army. I really enjoyed using them in Season 6. And they performed very well. And now for Season 7, it is an army that's bigger, meaner, and hopefully will perform well in battles. This could well be one of those, it could be the strongest army on the channel. So what you'll see here is a list that is a good representation of the Adeptus Mechanicus, sort of the Scutari side of the Adeptus Mechanicus. Sort of nice, fluffy looking army, good theme running through it. A good representation, I think, nice spread of different units, but still competitive enough. They hopefully will do well in games also. So in this video I'll build the army up, I'll introduce the units, talk about the whole army and the tactics, the reason why I'm taking each unit, and the benefits and bonuses and the rules and so on, just to give you an idea to help you as you build your own AdMech force. Gradually bring the units in, and then right at the end of the video we'll stand back and we'll zoom out and see the whole army laid out, just to give you an idea of how the whole army looks together. So if you're looking to collect AdMech, there's already a start collecting video for the Adeptus Mechanicus. If you just go back a bit in this playlist of videos, you'll find start collecting Adeptus Mechanicus, and that gives you a whole overview of actually physically collecting the miniatures. So ideas on painting and tips from someone that's already collected a force of these. It's a fantastic army. I'm really happy that Games Workshop brought these into 40k this faction. Some amazing miniatures, and so great to get an army of these together and to get them polished off ready at chapter approved 2018. So just before we get started, if you want to look at individual units in more detail, then there is the unit tactics videos as a playlist for AdMech. You can go for each individual unit to get more ideas on rules and more finer details for them. If you like the way the army looks painting wise, then there is how to paint Scutari video, put that together a few years ago, show you how to paint one of the Vanguard models. That'll give you the whole colour scheme you need for the entire army. You can follow that process. That's here on YouTube. And if you want help with the larger units, then for the Dunecrawlers, there is an in-depth painting tutorial on the Plus channel. So bigger project, more detail. Show you all the techniques, the basing, transfers, weathering, effects, and so on, all covered in that. And then on the Plus channel as well, I think it's for painting, it's one of the best covered factions here. There is a painting tutorial for Belisarius Call as well, so you can follow that along. And then there's also one for how to paint Imperial Knights. So how to paint up knights, full tutorial for that as well. So plenty of resources to help you as you do your own collection of Adeptus Mechanicus. So the theme for the army is, I guess it's based on a gun line. There's a gun line element to this for sure. And it's a gun line that I want to be able to I want it to reach all across the battlefield with its firepower, and then an infantry line to protect that gun line. But there's a few sort of loose cannons in the list as well. It's themed around a Scutari army, but the focal point is this Imperial Knight. And the idea is that this is the bodyguard, the protection for this Imperial Knight, and the two work together. So Imperial Knight, the AdMech are glad to have the Imperial Knight, and the Imperial Knight appreciates the protection that the AdMech force offers as well. So it's like a symbiosis between the two working together. It's a great focal point. You've got AdMech and the surrounding Scutari units all working together and striving for victory. So that's the theme that I wanted to go for this army. So yes, it's gun line, but you've got a knight in the list that's roving around the battlefield. It's got sort of a free roll, it can go where it wants. And then so because it's a mixture of aggression and firepower, there's some units in this army that are good for close combat as well. So yeah, it's not pure gun line. There's a nice mixture, and it makes for an interesting game and an interesting way of playing with this army. It's not just sitting there blasting away at stuff, which some might accuse maybe the Tau perhaps of doing, but instead, yes, there's the gun line, but then you've got some units that are more than happy to move quickly around the table or to turn up in different places, and so that's a real good fun element here. And I have to say, out of all the armies I have, really enjoy using the AdMech, whether it's this faction or whether it's this particular list, but very, very enjoyable to use in games, and seems to be pretty effective as well. So, I mean, this video is quite in depth. It's all there to help you out as you collect your own army. Maybe you have AdMech already and you've been struggling, or they're not performing too well. You know, take some ideas that I go through here, because there's all different combinations of things that really help. You know, and the models are fantastic. Very beautiful models. Really, really good. So, see, look, Games Workshop. Yeah, their representation of the army is the same. There's a knight featured in there. And you can see, as you saw earlier on, the knight that I have is painted up to match in with these. It all looks like they're working together. So yeah, I'll cover this here. You've got your household. We'll come to that in a moment. So you get Canticles. I wanted to make good use. There's some good ones in here. You know, +1 to units, give them that +1 to strength. The reroll ones for shooting, reroll ones for close combat. But the best one is Shroud Psalm. As soon as you get that, all the units affected by it, which is everything in this list apart from the knight, everything gets cover. It's amazing. You've got a vehicle with 3+ save, gets a 2+ save. You know, it counts as being a cover. Or my infantry, 4+ save bit weak. Wherever they are on the battlefield, they get a 3+ save because they count as being a cover. It's excellent. It is very, very powerful. So trying to get Shroud Psalm each turn. That's the combo that I have. Lets me get Shroud Psalm a good 50% of the time, if not slightly more. So the way to achieve that, the standard, is just to get 1 dice and you randomly roll on here. So there's a 1 in 6 chance of getting it. Or you can actually pick one of these each turn, but you only get to use it once. So you get Shroud Psalm once, that's it, it's gone. So the way I managed to get Shroud Psalm most of the time, just over half the time, is Archmagus, yeah. Whilst Belisario's called, he's in the list, he's on the battlefield, you can add 1, or subtract 1 when rolling on the Canticles of the Omnis side. So now if you roll a 3, 4, or 5, you can be able to adjust to get Shroud Psalm. So now that's your 50%. And then you combine that with my Forge World, which is Mars. Each time you randomly determine which Canticle of the Omnissiah is being canted, roll 2 dice instead of 1. All units of this dogma receive the benefit of both results instead of just the result of the first dice, unless it's a duplicate, in which case it's just 1. But now on that chart, you get 2 dice and keeping the results. So 2 chances of getting 3, 4, or 5. So most of the time, you're going to be able to adjust and get Shroud Psalm. So it's making excellent use, about the best use you can make of that Canticles. I think Shroud Psalm is so useful for trying to protect your army. And you get it. You roll for it before the round starts. So if you find yourself you're not going first, the opponent's going first, you roll this even before they start moving. You're rolling on here and getting your Canticles into position ready and getting that Shroud Psalm to help protect your army. And there's a stratagem you can use. It's quite costly, but if you desperately need Shroud Psalm, you can pay for it and immediately make an adjustment to get that in play. Because you know, you can find yourself playing a game and the entire game your whole army's in cover. It's an amazing bonus to have. So Shroud Psalm, I've really tried to go for that, and I'd say it has helped. So those are just a few structural bits to the list. The actual army here is Battle Forge. I've expanded it out now. It's a double battalion, so 13 command points for this list as well. Very, very healthy for command points. So you've got a nice use, AdMech of a nice sort of 1 and 2 command point stratagems that you can use, and so 13 command points is excellent. So I'll go through the order that they come in the codex. So HQs then, I need 4 for this list because I'm running a double battalion. So first one's Belisarius Call. He's taken a points reduction, chapter approved. He was 250, he's now 190, so a bonus, big bonus. There he is. And what a focal point. An incredible model that Games Workshop have produced. So he is in the list. He's not the type, as I've learned the hard way, he's not the type of HQ that you then send in to your opponent's nasty units, because he will die. So instead, the focus for him is his ability to repair damage, and also here, Lord of Mars. You can reroll any hit rolls in the shooting phase for Mars units within 6. So this is the HQ that I bury in the heart of my gun line. He's got 8 wounds. He can repair himself, and so yeah, he's good at surviving any sort of sniper fire. It's very hard for snipers to try and pick him off because of the amount of wounds that he has and his ability to repair wounds as well. So he's pretty safe from sniper fire, coming through a couple of wounds here and there. He's got a 2-up save anyway, a 5+ invuln save on top of that. So that's the way I've used him. You'll find him buried away in the gun line, not venturing out too far, and the key for him is to reroll hit rolls. Now this is where it's he's so good. Reroll any hit rolls in the shooting phase. Any hit rolls. So even because you're applying, you're doing rerolls before modifiers. If there's dice you're rolling and you know they're going to become misses after the modifiers come in, you can choose to reroll those as well. So his reroll ability is superb. It is excellent. So the heart of the gun line for him, and my long range artillery firepower. He's there always during the game. Try and keep him within 6 of those. You'll keep those units within 6 of him, and they'll get reroll everything for the shooting. Now, bit controversially, but he's not the warlord in this list. That's because I wanted to use a different warlord trait than what he comes with. So he's not the warlord. The actual warlord I take is a Tech Priest Dominus. Just here again, fantastic model, really good. So there he is. Just there. This is the warlord, and again, similar to Belisarius Call, I want to keep him out of trouble as much as possible, and just to use the benefits that he grants. So I've got 2 elements to the army. We've got the gun line, that's where he hangs around, and then the loose cannon part of the army. Sometimes he can hang around with the Imperial Knight and other units as well, and he can then grant reroll hit rolls in the shooting phase for any Forge World units within 6. If there's any other Skitarii units nearby, he'll grant that to them, so it can help with a few infantry units with him, for example. He can repair himself. He can repair other models as well. There's a 5+ invuln save, again 2-up save, so he's survivable enough against sort of sniper type units. 5 wounds, and then he can fight in close combat. Okay, there's a few weapons there, the Omniscient Axe, for example, and others. But again, I'm not been tempted to put him into combats where often he's not going to do too well. So Tech Priest Dominus. The main benefit that he grants, cost by the way, is 80 points. The axe is free. 2 points for Macro Stubber and 10 points for the Eradication Ray. Just the range is better. You can snipe away at stuff. Range 24, heavy D3, strength 6 -2. And 1 damage. If it's in range 8 inches, it's AP -4 and damage of D3. But sniping away at sort of medium heavy infantry is pretty good. So that's the eradication rate. So yes, his warlord trait. I'll give you all the details here in this video, so you can copy this list exactly if you want to. Yeah, he's carrying a relic, but it's here. Number 4, Necromechanic. Each time your warlord uses an ability to repair a friendly model, that model regains an additional wound. So it's D3 +1. So you're always going to be a minimum of 2. Then there is a stratagem here. It's Tech Adept. This one. Use a stratagem after Adeptus Mechanicus character from your army has used an ability to repair a friendly model. The character can immediately attempt to use the ability again, and can even use it to repair the same model. So you've got the potential of restoring 8 wounds in 1 turn. So particularly useful for models like this. It's pretty good. Or if, for example, he's on 1 wound left and in serious trouble, you move him across and potentially restore all the wounds in 1 turn. It's an incredible ability, and I really wanted that as a theme for this army. of lots of repairs going on during the game. So multiple units that can do repairs, just keep repairing stuff. It's demoralising for the opponent because the damage they've done is just being stripped away and restored again. And it's keeping units healthy and alive for longer. Brilliant. So, and it's, what's that, 1 command point? So, it's superb. But it just gives it a little bit more bite. D3 plus 1, and it's repeatable as well. And the other major reason why I go for that Necro mechanic is here, Master of Machines. At the end of your movement phase, this model can repair a single friendly Forge World or Questa Mechanicus. That's your Imperial Knight model within 3 inches. If the model being repaired is a Forge World model, it gains D3 lost wounds. If it's Questa Mechanicus, it regains 1. It's only 1 wound. But now it's 1 plus 1 for the Warlord traits, so that's 2. And then play that, you can guarantee to restore 4 wounds in a turn. And then for an Imperial Knight, it's on 12 wounds, all of a sudden jumps to 16 wounds. It's on 16 wounds, it jumps to 20. That's pretty significant during a game, because the Knight's going to be a fire magnet, and anything that keeps that thing alive for longer is useful. So you may well see in games, Gunline, Belisarius Skull's the best for that. Reroll all hit rolls is better than rerolling ones, but for him, you may well see him hanging around the Imperial Knight, just to give the best kind of repairs possible to that. That's the idea I'm thinking of. So that's the 2 HQs. I need 2 more for this double battalion. After Chapter Pro 2018, my old list, I saved about 250 odd points, so plenty of points to spend. So people have been saying go for the double battalion. So 2 cheap HQs of 2 new models. It's Tech Priest Engine Seers. So 2 of them. There's 1. Just there. And the other one's just here. He's buried amongst the other units. So those 2. Superb models, beautiful sculpts that Games Workshop have put together. So that's the 2 of them there, and that fulfills the other 2 HQs. Now they're super cheap. They cost about 30 odd points, they're 30 points exactly for them. A little bit of combat ability, but again the main reason for those would be to repair other vehicles. So say all 3 of my Dunecrawlers have taken damage and there's too much going on for Belisarius Skull, and you can send out these little helpers here and they can restore wounds. Or I can have them hang around with a unit of infantry. Say Infiltrators, one of them's taken a wound, they can restore wounds on those as well. No, they can't. They're restricted to vehicles. So they can repair vehicles. And also Astra Militarum and Questa Mechanicus, they can repair knights, but it's D3, and again it's Questa Mechanicus only 1 wound. The difference to Tech Priest Dominus, yes, and Belisarius Court, is they can repair a model. It doesn't have to be a vehicle, so they can restore wounds even on things like this. That's what I wanted to cover. So then again, just to restore wounds for those, and also useful enough for holding objectives. So say your gun line's going to march forwards during the game, but there's an objective at the back. A couple of characters there just to do objective duty along your back line. Useful enough as well. So helpful on the table just to have cheap characters that you can leave in certain places on objectives or wherever they need to be, and it's not cost you too much. You haven't had to hold back a very important unit to do that. So the useful enough things, these, not too bad at all. There's the 4 HQs that make up this list. So to make up double battalion, I need 6 troops. I've reconfigured my infantry layout, and I've added some more models, been able to afford some more models and upgrades on these. So it's a bigger, more sizable chunk of infantry. Their aim is just to screen and to provide as much fire support as possible. I'm not going to pin too much on these because they get blown away very good. Don't last long in games. They really do not last very long at all. So I don't want to invest too many points in them, but I still want them to contribute to some degree. So I've got a mixture of Rangers and Vanguard for this list here. So we'll go through, in no particular, it doesn't matter which one's going which battalion, but I'll cover the first 2. So that's Rangers. So I've gone for 2 units of 8. of these. And I rate their weapon here, the galvanic rifle. It's like a bolter, but it's better. Range 30. Rapid fire 1, so you get to range 15, it's 2 shots. Strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. If you're only 6 pluses for a wound, it's AP -1 as well. So nice, decent range. So you're able to give some decent firepower at long range with these. And it's pretty good. I mean, they're cheap. That unit of Rangers, 8 of those is 72 points with the other upgrades. Very cheap unit. If they're destroyed during a game, it's no big deal. But I can use them as screening units to protect my backline, to protect my characters, to lay down their own firepower. These two units here are exactly the same. There is a squad leader in each. I've given him an arc pistol and an arc maul, so a bit of anti-vehicle ability, a little bit of ability in close combat. And then I've given this squad 2 arc rifles as well, which is a decent weapon. It's range 24, strength 6, it's rapid fire, it's AP -1, and it's D3 damage against vehicles. So it's alright, it's not bad. I'm not expecting them to do too much with their firepower, but they seem to be better keeping them around Belisarius Call, just to get the rerolls to hit with everything. It really enhances their firepower. And you can see it's created a bit of a line now for the opponent to try and chew through. You know, you've got Shroud's Arm, they're all getting a 3-up save for being cover. So your opponent's got to take a bit of effort if he wants to try and wipe these out. Then the next combination, I'll cover the Rangers next. This is my sniper teams. Yeah. So the Transuranic Arquebus. I take units of 5. I don't want to go too big because I don't want to struggle with morale. Unit of 5, that's the focal point, these two. The rest are my rifles, and they act as a bodyguard. So a bit of damage starts coming through, a few models being picked off. They can die, there's not going to be any morale issues, and it's just to protect and keep these alive for as long as possible. Unit of 5 with 2 Transuranic Arquebus, no other upgrades at all. Because I want to be careful with my points, is 65 points. So 1, and then I just repeat exactly the same unit again. So unit 5. These I want deployed at the back of my gun line. And you know, an advantage point would be useful. Sometimes to try and keep them alive a bit longer is not to stick them right at the very top and everyone can see them. Yes, they can see the target, but they can easily be picked off. Sometimes it's to set them up as far back as possible and maybe at a tighter angle, so they're hidden from half the opponent's army and they've got an angle towards part, you know, covering ground, so able to snipe, but not too exposed because they don't last. Again, they don't last very long, so it's good to try and keep them alive and try and choose a position where they're going to sit for the whole game, so they don't have to move. But again, with Belisarius Call, rerolling all the hit rolls, their firepower will be accurate enough. So just to give you an idea, Transuranic Arquebus, 60-inch range, heavy one. So it's one shot, you really want that shot to hit. So I must always try and keep them at Belisarius Call, and that's, you know, 3s to hit, usually 3s to hit. It's all re-rollable, it's very accurate firepower, because you want those 2 shots to hit. Once you hit at strength 7, so you can even snipe at vehicles here, but you can hit a character, you're wounding on a 3+ most of the time. If it's Astra Militarum type units, it's 2s to wound. AP -2, so you can knock the armour down, D3 damage. And any 6s to wound, or 6+ to wound, is a mortal wound on top of that as well. And you can pick on characters. And those 2 teams working together have annoyed opponents plenty of times with their firepower. So that's my sniper teams. What keeps them alive is keep them partially hidden and range, keep them away. Range 60, so get them over 48 inches away from the opponent. The opponent's not going to have much sort of anti-infantry units, but they're going to be able to try and deal with those. So because they are useful to fire every turn during a game, very useful unit to have. So those 2 units work out at 65 points each, sort of bolstering the gun line. So then Skitarii Vanguard used to have a unit of 10. I've now split them into 2 units of 6. here, and these are to plug gaps either in the gun line, or these can go and roam around the table and help out the Imperial Knight or other assaulting units. Let's put them in that order. So 1, and then this unit here. I've gone for 2 units to 6. Again, morale issues. You know, unit 6 not going to cause too much trouble for morale. And flexibility as well. You know, I've got plasma calivers here in the squad. Radium pistols just to save on points, and arc maul in there. Bit of close combat ability there, but AdMech really don't excel at close combat at all. You know, weapon skill 4+, and the leader's only got 2 attacks. So don't expect any kind of help really in close combat, but just a little bit of something they can use in combat. These weapons, the arc weapons, used to dish out hull points in the old system, and they were nasty enough. I'd seen a squad of these with 3 of them bring down a wave serpent just with 1 round of firepower, but that's you'll take your 10 rounds to do the same now. So these weapons are drastically reduced in their effectiveness. One idea you can do, someone may have already, you know, in the comment section suggested this, but you can drop the arc pistol and the arc maul, and you'll have enough points to buy an extra range, an extra model, and you could add that perhaps as a bit of extra protection here, or expand these to units of 9s. That's a possible option. If you just want firepower, that's one idea, but I've got a little bit of close combat ability here. So units of 6, 1 squad leader, and then 2 plasma calivers in each of these squads as well. And the plasma caliver is brilliant, and again, it's well worth keeping them within range of either the Tech Priest Thomas or Belisarius School. If just to reroll 1s for shooting just really helps out. It means you can supercharge, not worry too much about the models being lost. Here, plasma caliver, range 18. The range is okay. Assault 2, strength 7 -3, or you can overcharge. Assault 2, strength 8 -3, 2 damage. So it's decent. It's good against heavier targets, and it's a cheap unit. It's 75 points for that unit there. You could drop the arc maul, save a few more points, but nice cheap units, and they can plug gaps. It's a small unit I can hide. I can bring them out when I need them for firepower, or they can follow some of the other units and characters around if they're out going away from the main gun line. Bit of infantry support here, bit of protection that can surround characters. So during a game you might see him buried inside a unit of these. He's granting the reroll 1s, and they're offering a bit of protection to any deep striking units that might come in and try and ambush this character, just to give you an idea of how I might use those. But small unit I can afford to send off in different directions. It's only a small cost in points. But that's the infantry gun line. I'm not expecting too much. They're there to support, but I'm not hinging my success in games on these. They're there as a screen and some supporting firepower coming through, and just a bit of a meat shield, because they do die quick. So, you know, I don't want to pin my hopes on these units of infantry and then they just vaporise, which can happen very, very quickly. So, this themed army I've tried to keep Skitarii based, so you'll not see the Cataphron Breachers, the Destroyers and so on. Fantastic units, but it's pure sort of Skitarii I've gone for with this list. So the next unit, onto Elites then. Fulfill both battalions now as it stands. Got the 4 HQs and the 6 troops choices that I need. I've got a gun line with some supporting infantry is okay, and a good base of HQs, but at the moment the army's not very effective, so I'm going to try and add in some units that got a bit of nasty punch to them. The relic, by the way, is on him. If he finds himself in the right place, the right time, I've given him the Omniscient Mask. You can reroll failed hit rolls in the fight phase of friendly Skitarii units within 6 of the bearer of the Omniscient Mask. So some of my combat-based units, which we're going to see in just a moment, be handy if he's near them. He can grant them the rerolls to hit, which is particularly useful in maybe situations in the game where that comes up. It's about one of the best. Yeah, it's about one of the best that's there. But I can play around with that, but I've gone for Omniscient Mask for him. So, yes, we'll go with these first. Ruststalkers. So not a popular choice for the AdMech. A lot of my units I take, I go for unpopular choices, you know, competitively. But one of the advantages of that is the unpopular units took a big price reduction, so I've been able to expand the army out significantly. Ruststalkers are not popular, which I think is sad. I want to try and use them effectively in battles. So instead of getting rid of them, I've expanded my unit of 7 to a unit of 10, just to max them out. And they are a threat on the battlefield, for sure. But it's all about using them rightly, because again, they can get blown away pretty quick. But we'll briefly cover the rules here. But Unit 10's quite a presence on the battlefield, though, for sure. There they are. So as I said, I've got, you know, the steady gun line, predictable. But then I've got a couple of loose cannons in the army that can have some fun with and a bit of combat potential. These in close combat can be deadly enough. So the Ruststalkers, tons of attacks for these things. 3 attacks. So you've got 30 attacks. Leader gets an extra one. So 31 attacks with this unit if they hit at full strength. Unit of 10, if I take some damage during the game, I've still got a potent enough unit. If I was running a unit of 7, I took 3 casualties, all of a sudden the unit's not very significant, but it can absorb some damage at 10 and still be dangerous enough. Movement 8, they are swift across the battlefield as well. They're strength 4, they've got 2 wounds, got 4 up save, 6 up invuln. So it'll take a fair bit to bring them down. The combination I've gone for is Cold Claw and Transonic Razor. So the Transonic blades, you get an extra bit of strength, but it's the Razor and Cold Claw I've gone for. It's a strange weapon. There's no minus on the AP. There's loads of attacks, so good against hordes, but also their ability to dish out mortal wounds. Good against everything else. Yeah, especially characters. If you can catch a character out, and heavier infantry, but they can be tricky because you're looking for your mortal wounds. It's not always, sometimes you get a bad roll and you get hardly any 6s, so they're a tricky unit to get right. But for catching smaller character of 4 or 5 wounds, you plaster them with hits and hopefully loads of mortal wounds. The character's in trouble. So points wise, 150 points. It's very, very cheap for what you're getting. The way to try and make these more effective is to try and make sure they get their hits. So 3s to hit with some other canticle. One of the canticles gives you reroll 1s, very useful. And then there is a stratagem as well. +1 to shooting. That's shooting. It's +1 to its Conqueror Doctrine. Yeah, it's this one here. Scutari unit. Before it fights, add 1 to the hit rolls. Yeah. So you make it 2s to hit with the canticle, 2s to hit rerolling 1s. Just want to make sure you get all those hits. As many opportunities as possible to try and roll 6s for your mortal wounds. So, you know, with those kind of combinations going on, then that makes them that much more effective. Very, very cheap. Very, very cheap indeed. So with the Cord Claw, you take 1 of your attacks. So I get 10 of them. You roll to hit, and then any wounds of a 6+, target suffers D3 mortal wounds, in addition to normal damage. So, mortal wounds there, possibility of doing D3. So you're looking for those 6s. Should get 1 or 2 of them, at least. On average, sometimes you get 6. You get a crazy dice roll, and all of a sudden, they cause an upset. And then Transonic raises the rest of the attacks coming through there. Any 6s to wound is a mortal wound instead of the normal damage. It's not as well as, but instead of. So they're okay, but you've got to choose your target wisely with them. But one other thing they can be as a distraction. If the opponent knows they dish out mortal wounds, you know, mortal wounds is a scary thing, you'll find they can be absorbing a lot of damage and the opponent can divert firepower at them instead of firing at other targets. So Ruststalkers are in. Next is Infiltrators, and again I had a unit 7. I bought another box and so I expanded them out. They were a unit of 8. I think it's 8 I had of those, made them a unit 10. So again, quite a presence on the table. Now these play in a different, these are different to Ruststalkers. and I think a lot more deadly, especially the way that I'll show you how I play them in a moment. I think it's terrifying, potentially. So unit of 10, and what a presence they have on the table. So good sized, generous sized unit of those. The points for them, I give them taser goads and flechette blasters. Points is 180, so you're paying a bit more, but again, not too bad. 180 points, nicely under 200. So these play different, less attacks, 2 attacks each, so 20 attacks plus leader. They're 21 attacks for these in total. And again, the stratagems and the rerolls I mentioned earlier would definitely help these out. So it's because of the taser goad. Strength 4 plus 2, strength 6, AP 0, only 1 damage, but each hit roll of 6 plus, or it will be each hit roll of 5 plus with the Conqueror Doctrine Imperative. That will then give you 3 hits rather than 1. So excellent against hordes, trying to clear hordes out of the way. These things love to get stuck in and just plaster the enemy unit with hits. Loads and loads and loads of hits coming through with them. Yeah. So all of a sudden you get 30 hits on a horde unit. Doesn't have a very good save. 6 strength 6, 2s or 3s to wound. All of a sudden tons of saves to make. They can clear vast chunks of them away. And if they find themselves locked in combat against hordes, you've got the flechette blaster, range 12, pistol 5. So a 50 shot unit come through at strength 3, which is still usually space range. So we 5s to wound with 50 shots coming through. AP 0 and 1 damage. So they're an interesting unit. You used to want to flank or on a weak part of the opponent's army there to harass and to sweep round. Their movement 8, nice and quick. Still got the 2 wounds. Still got 4 up save. So chucking out tons and tons of pistol shots, sweeping around, charging into combat. They can be a real menace of a unit. And there's an even deadlier way to play them for the Forge World that I have. So the ace in the back of my pocket almost is these. They can infiltrate. So during deployment, this unit can be set up in concealment instead of placing it on the battlefield. At the end of any of your movement phases, turn 2 onwards, you can reveal its location, set it up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches away from any models. So they're an ambush type unit. You think, they're geared for close combat, the way they're equipped with the taser codes, but they can land and can cause a deadly shooting ambush with these. So remember the flechette blaster 5 shots. So they're going to land and dish out 50 shots with these. Range 12, so you can easily get the models in range, just over 9 inches away from whatever target you're going to go after. Then, in the ideal world, you've got your Canticles giving you reroll 1s for your shooting. You then play Protector, Doctrine and Imperative, so +1 to your hit rolls in the shooting phase. So all of a sudden 50 shots, 2s to hit rerolling 1s. And then play off of Mars. Use this strategy before a Mars unit from your army attacks in the shooting phase. Each time make a wound roll of 6+. The target suffers a mortal wound in addition to any other damage. All of a sudden, 50 hits virtually coming through or thereabouts, and the ability to cause mortal wounds is scary. Ambush a character, a vehicle, heavy infantry, whatever it may be. It's a real handy resource to have. So I find my gun line a bit of trouble, or there's an area of the battlefield that I'm not covering very well, not attacking very well. All of a sudden these can turn up, chuck out a load of mortal wounds in addition to the regular damage as well, and harass in close combat and so on. So I think a very useful unit, and you keep them reserved, and it keeps the opponent has to start forming screens, and they can't deploy usually how they want to, or it restricts their movement. They're keeping an eye out for this unit coming down. So, tactically very useful for keeping your opponent on guard and sort of disrupts them from that, and then land them wherever they land. They can dish out this nasty shooting attack. It has to be for your Mars Forge World. It's not available to the other Forge Worlds. So another reason why I went for Mars with these. So see, I said at the start, sort of loose cannons, different, strange kind of units. Really, they're vastly different to the gun line here. They're sort of out doing their own thing. Sort of very specialised. So ambush type here, mortal wounds, sort of based unit just here. But I can pick and choose where I want them and what role I want them to fulfil during the game. So again, it was unit of 7. One of these was unit of 7. One of them was unit of 8. And thankfully the extra points reductions, these all took points reductions, been able to bring the points down and then top them up to 2 units of 10. So that's bulked out the elites nicely. So So I've got a bit of a counterpunch of close combat. Now I've got a gun line and a good solid HQ base, but still the army's lacking here. It wouldn't do particularly well. So, with the spare points as well, I've been able to go for Sidonian Dragoons. I actually had 2 in my army collection, but I hadn't used them for a long time because I didn't think they're particularly good. But I've got the points now to bring them back. And I've gone for 2 of them. So, I usually run them as 2 separate units. A lot of AdMech players will run these as a larger group so you can play stratagems on them because they really want to use them as effectively as possible. That's a great way to use them for sure. But I want these more to be insignificant on the table. And when they're on their own opponents, they're low priority. They're there for scouting, manoeuvring rounds, or line breaker, charging into units and disrupting them, or holding at the back and grabbing objectives, and just sort of being on patrol. So they're my flexible sort of scout sentinel sort of style with these Sidonian Dragoons. They're cheap enough. Coming in at 68 points with the broad spectrum data Teffer, and then with the Taser Lance as well. 3 attacks, 3s to hit, movement 10. Taser Lance makes some strength 8, AP minus 1, 2 damage. And your 6s to hit is 3 hits rather than 1. So there's the potential of them to be a nasty unit when you make them up to units of 5, units of 6 and so on. But these, I just want them scouting about the board. If I was to change the list, you could maybe drop them and add in 2 more of those to make them more effective. But they're my sort of scouting type units, the role that I have for them. But tactically very useful. I need to grab an objective, movement 10 plus an advance. I need to grab an objective, but I don't want to use a big unit to do it. That's the kind of job they can go for. I've got a vehicle heading towards me. I want to protect my gun line, send out one of these prancing chickens and they can charge in and disrupt that enemy unit. So that's the idea of those. And it's -1 to hit them. All hit rolls with ranged weapons as well for the incense cloud. So, yeah, they're okay. That's the idea of them. So, next is the Dunecrawlers here. And my configuration I go for has always been controversial. A lot of people disagree with my option, but I'm going to stick with it. And competitively, I still think it's a viable option for sure. So, you see these nice banners that have been done. I've made a separate video giving you a walkthrough of how to make your own with those. But look at the way that sets off nicely against the whole army. These great banners on top of these vehicles. So I'm going to tuck them in just at the back here. And we'll zoom out and see them in all their glory in just a moment once the army's all on the board. But there's the 3 of them. Now all of a sudden, we've got these great vehicles along the back line ready to lend some fire support. So, the most popular configuration is the Neutron Laser, which it is a fantastic weapon. It's range 48, heavy D3, strength 10 minus 4 D6 damage. Any 1s and 2s rolled for damage is always 3, so it's 3 or more damage every time. But I still rate, and for this particular list, I'm still going to go with the Icarus Array on these. It's a range of shooting. It's not as deadly anti-armor as the Neutron Laser, but I think it's more versatile to be able to fire at different targets. Whatever comes towards my gun line, I need to be able to damage whatever that could be. It could be a big monster, it could be a load of jet bikes, it could be heavy infantry, it could be a vehicle, it could be a flyer. Whatever it is, I need to have something that can gun it down moderately effectively. So that's what the Icarus Array is. I think it's okay at shooting everything, is my view. So it could be hordes, it could be heavy infantry, it could be whatever. So Icarus Array, these work out at 110 points each. Took a point deduction, so they're very, very cheap. They are individual. I can run them either as individual vehicles, or I can. No, there's no squadrons anymore for these. Single model. Nope, there's no squadrons. So it is individual models. So I usually keep them together because I want them within 6 inches of Belisarius Call, and then also they have the Eminentus Force Field, 5+ invuln save. If they're in range 6 of another Dunecrawler, it's reroll 1s. So 5+ invuln save is nothing to scoff at. It is very useful. 1/3 of the shots come through, whatever the caliber, you're going to be able to block it on a 5+, potentially rerolling 1s as well. And the amount of times nasty hits come through and I've rolled a 5+, plenty of times over. So you combine that with the amount of wounds these things have, 11 wounds, 3+ save. They're often in cover, 2+ save, 5+ invuln save, and then surrounded by characters that can do repairs. They're remarkably resilient. And use the infantry line to screen and protect and just let them fire every turn. So one of these firing may not be too scary on one turn, but if it's firing every single turn, it's going to grind any target down, no matter what that target is. So the weapon then, Icarus Array, it's 3 different weapons that have to fire at the same target. I believe you do. Yeah, it's maybe something for the comment section if you know the answer to that. Can you split the weapon's firepower? I don't know. Icarus Array. Just says when attacking with this weapon, you can fire all 3 of the profiles below. I think you have to fire at the same target with all 3. I think you do, but if you know otherwise, then leave it in the comment section below. So it comes with a Daedalus missile launcher. All of these are range 48, so the range is superb. So you can hold at the back line and just fire away. Heavy 1. And again, I've got my reroll ability with Belisarius Call, for example. Strength 7. So it's not too strong. It's okay. AP -3 and D6 damage. Once it gets through, it's decent enough. Then got a Gatling rocket launcher, range 48, heavy 5, strength 6 -2. So there's your anti-jet bike, anti-heavy medium infantry, anti-horde. Plenty of shots, nice bit of punch, AP -2 as well, 1 damage. And the Twin Icarus autocannon, brilliant weapon, heavy 4. So this is a 10-shot weapon, strength 7, -1, and 2 damage, which is great. Add 1 to hit rolls against targets that can fly. So any flyers, jet bikes, jump infantry, great targets for this. And instead it used to be 6s to hit other targets. Now it's just -1 from the hit rolls. So that's not too bad. And then again with Belisarius Call nearby, I'm re-rolling everything. So their firepower's very accurate at whatever they decide to fire at. I know it's controversial, not the standard choice, but I still think competitive enough. It means that whatever comes towards my gun line, they can chip away wounds at any type of target, no matter what it may be. So, often the opponents are going to try and silence those in close combat, but it's a lot of effort to try and get through to them. For shooting, it's 33 wounds to try and get through, and if they don't destroy a whole vehicle, I'm just going to surround it with models that can do repairs. So it's pretty resilient. Smoke launchers if you need them. If I move the vehicle, there's no minus to hit rolls, so they are a solid choice. So cheap, 110 points now for them. So they're in the list. Now our gun lines, nicely equipped. 3 of those, just letting off Dakar every turn. That's been pretty good. Often I find in a turn it's not that great, but one turn after the next, they do well enough for sure. So that's the Dunecrawlers. The last unit to add in, the whole sort of focal point for this army, is the Imperial Knight. Here. Big fire magnet. And I've gone for anti-tank with this. So this is where my heavier guns are based on this thing. So it is the Knight Errant. I've gone past it. Yeah, Knight Errant. Here. Total points cost with some reductions is 450 points. The model's just here. I'll bring it in. See, it matches in nicely. You can get an idea of the whole army now. With this knight matching in. Nice. Full tutorial for that on the plus channel. I'm going to tuck it in at the back here just for now. Just to that. So a nice bulky sized army here, double battalion, but still 1/4 of the points spent on this Knight Errant. So, a knight's tough enough. Strength 8, toughness 8, it really helps. 24 wounds the opponents try and get through. 5+ invuln save with rotate iron shields. You go for a 4+ invuln save if you need it. It can charge into combat, it can pull out of combat and still shoot and still charge as well. Nice and flexible, with a real loose cannon in the army that's got a free roll around the battlefield. You can stay away from my gun line. Doesn't need to be there because it's not going to be able to partake of any of the bonuses because it's Questa Mechanicus, and so it can then move and do its own thing out on a flank somewhere or away from the gun line, usually. So the way the points have worked out, I've dropped the Melter and gone for the Stubber. That saved me 12 points. So this is a 2,000 point army according to my calculations here. So anti-tank his role, and to disrupt the opponent in close combat. So again, opponent's closing in towards the gun line, can send out the Imperial Knight with the supporting units behind, and he protects the gun line, roams around. It's like a knight sallying forth from his castle to protect the rest of the army. So that's the kind of theme going on. And these things, they love the machine loves them. It's this whole Omnissiah glorifying the machine type thing going on. It's a nice thing. I like it. If you want to collect AdMech, standard AdMech army is absolutely great, but to add a bit more life to it, a nice theme, just chuck a knight in there. Brilliant. So for shooting, I've gone for the thermal cannon, range 36, a good range. You've got 12-inch move this model, you get it into position, 36 range, you're going to cover the battlefield pretty good. Heavy D6, it can chuck out a nasty amount of shots if you roll well. Got plenty of rerolls on standby, 13 command points if you roll a 1, for example. But average of 3 or 4 shots, at 3's to hit. If you do hit the target, strength 9, 3's to wound pretty much all the vehicles that are out there. AP minus 4, so unless the target's got an invuln save, it's in serious trouble. D6 damage. If you get to in half range, which is range 18, it's 2d6 discard the lowest. It's a nasty weapon, a bit temperamental, but it's nasty enough. Then to support that, I then pay the points for the rocket launcher on top, the carapace weapon. Here. The Storm Spear rocket pod. Range 48, heavy 3, strength 8, minus 2, d6 damage. You can add that in, it's a guaranteed 3 shots. You add that on top of your thermal cannon, all of a sudden this thing should take out a Russ in 1 round of shooting. It's pretty good. So the opponent can't ignore the knight. Striding around the battlefield, letting off that kind of firepower can't be ignored. So it becomes a fire magnet, takes the heat off of your gun line, takes the heat off of these at the back, and then just lets them fire every turn whilst the opponent's trying to destroy a knight. When I've got a Tech Priest Dominus behind it, restoring it potentially 4 wounds back onto the knight every turn, just making it harder and harder for the opponent to try and bring the thing down entirely. The opponent has to destroy the knight, otherwise as the game goes on, it's just going to gradually get repaired more and more. So then it's got its Titanic feet in close combat, or the sword, 4 attacks, plus 4, AP minus 3, 6 damage. So nasty in combat as well. So there's a tactic with this list as well, and you don't have to follow my combination, but you can still make it work if you're going to go for the Imperial Knight in your epic army plus whatever else it's going to be. But at the moment there's 2 halves here. You've got these Dunecrawlers and you have the Knight, and usually in games I will split those 2 and keep them away from each other. So I have the gun line in one corner and the Knight across the other side. So now the opponent's got a choice to make. Do they go for the Knight, in which case the gun line's going to have free reign to fire, or do they go for the gun line and they ignore the Knight, and then the Knight's striding around the battlefield causing trouble? So it creates a bit of a conundrum for the opponent. Which direction do they assault, which do they try and deal with first? And if they go after one, then the other is left alone more or less and can act as support. So keep a look out for that in games, that tactic being used. Very simple, but it seems to be effective enough. It's a lot of effort to bring a Knight down, and it's a lot of effort to try and destroy them, and so then that frees up the other half of the army to cause trouble. So, say for example in a game, the opponent's done really well, wiped out the Dunecrawlers, but it's taken all the effort, all the firepower to do it, but then there's a Knight's been alive the whole game, and that's going to cause trouble. So that's the kind of reasoning I've got here with this list. It's a bad mistake to put the Knight in with the gun line, because then the opponent, if it's an assault army, the opponent says, right, I'll just go for the whole gun line, disrupt the whole thing. But instead I keep the Knight away most of the time, and then now the opponent's got to choose you know, which way to go. So that's the idea. I'm going to zoom out now. I think that's the whole list. Gone through stratagems that I can use. There's a few others here. Yeah, there's Knight of the Cog. And I can take a quest to Mechanicus. The knight here, there's within 12 of an admech character, say the Tech Priest Dominus is there to restore wounds. That unit gains Canticles of the Omnissiah ability to start the next battle round. So I can have that knight in cover and give it a 2-up save, I believe, if I need to. So that's very useful as well. Rotate Iron Shields as well. And there is a few others as well. There's also one where I can use the top bracket of my damage profile. You know, it's got the knight's got 1 wound left. It can fight. It counts as own 24 wounds. You know, so you get your full number of attacks and weapon skill, ballistic skill, and so on. So there's some decent stratagems to help out the knight, and it's all incorporated. All stratagems incorporated within the AdMech stratagem card deck. So you don't have to be shifting over to Imperial Knights. It's all built in now to the AdMech Codex, which is fantastic. It's all self-contained, which is great. I think I've covered everything there. That's the whole Tactica for the army. We'll zoom out now. We'll see the army on parade. Alright, so there it is. That's the list all laid out there. So you've got your decent HQs, the gunline infantry units just here. So I'm scouting Dragoons, and then anchoring at the back would be the Dunecrawlers just there. And then my more loose cannon type units here, so assault based, ambush type units, got more of a free reign around the battlefield and just adds a nice bit of variety to the list. Infiltrators here can turn up anywhere, and we've seen the nasty stratagems and firepower they can do. Then the Infiltrators or the Ruststalkers here with their mortal wounds ability in close combat. You know, if I line them up against the right target, they can do well. And the Imperial Knight, which the opponent can't ignore, it's got to be dealt with during a game, and it's decent anti-armor firepower available from the rocket pod and the thermal cannon there as well. This army's done well in games, and hopefully for season 7 it will do well as well. So feel free to copy this army, and so you can copy it exactly if you want to, or you can take elements from it and inspiration. Keep a lookout for battle reports to see this list in action here on YouTube, and then half of the battle reports for season 7 are over on the Plus channel as well. And as I mentioned, painting tutorials, Belisarius Call, the Dunecrawler here, the Imperial Knight, all in-depth painting tutorials, all available on the Plus channel, and then also here on YouTube how to paint one of the Vanguard as well. That colour scheme you can use throughout the entire army. But there it is, 2,000 points, chapter approved 2018 for the Adeptus Mechanicus. We'll see if they have the potential to perform well in the battle reports that are on the way. So there it is, that's the list. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.